Can you tell us a short story about someone who has had their life impacted by your ministry?
Of course. I mean, that is the part that I like the most about the work. I would like to share the story of a pastor in Guatemala. It's a story that is close to me. We do this work not only in the US, in different places, in Canada, but in Central America, with all kinds of people, by the way, not people who follow Christ, but people who are involved in ministry and leaders of denominations and pastors. And we do it with people who are just normal workers or stay-at-home moms. And so this is a variety of people, but this pastor concretely that I have in mind, he started his journey probably 5 years ago, and he was part of a retreat that was hosted at St. Andrew's Presbyterian Church. So the name of the pastor is Byron. And he's not only a pastor in Guatemala, but he's kind of the leader of a network of pastors in the country. You know, he has a lot of heart, big heart for the kingdom of God in Guatemala. So his first approach to FaithWalking was actually looking for tools that were helpful for his ministry, you know, a helpful resource for his ministry. But I think he was mainly interested in the idea of personal transformation as a tool to see congregational transformation and community transformation. And all of that is part of it, right? But the first thing that I think that impacted Byron was what I will call the space that we offer, and that we all offer, participants and facilitators. You know, it's a different kind of a space. It's a space without judgment, without condemnation. It's a space without the tendency that we usually have to fix things and to respond things or to polarize in thinking. But it's more a space that is authentic, that is vulnerable, that is open to God to speak, especially to the common experience that we are all sharing. You know, sometimes God speaks to me through listening how the experience of another participant is taking place. So Byron started to be present to the need of transformation in Byron, right? And he was looking for resources, but he started to see the need of transformation in Byron as a husband, as a father, as a friend. And he started actually to interact from a more vulnerable place with other pastors in Guatemala. He came to the States and came back to Guatemala. A lot of the process has gone after the retreat here in the United States took place in Guatemala. So he started being more vulnerable and started noticing the impact of the relationship that he had with the peers, with other pastors. And I think it was pretty healing for him to be more authentic. Not because he was intentionally hiding something, not because he had kind of a skeleton in the closet, but because he actually experienced something different. He didn't have a context to relate from an authentic place. And I think that was the first thing that he received from FaithWalking. The second aspect of transformation for Byron was related with his approach of what we call the spiritual practice, the spiritual workout, right? From the classic practice, I mean, you're talking a pastor, right? Classic practices of he knew very well, the Bible study, worship and fasting and all of that. He started exploring with silence, meditation, and kind of more contemplative practices. And I believe that allowed God to touch parts of Byron that were beyond his intellect. He had all the Bible knowledge and is helpful and necessary. But you know, through these other practices, he started changing in a different ways. He started thinking, feeling in a different way. And he actually today is an active voice about the importance of what this spiritual workout as one of the elements that God uses to transform us. So he had written even a couple of pieces that we have used in the blog post of the FaithWalking Spanish website. So finally, let me take you the last part of this transformation. Is very interesting. There were two situations that happened during the time that he was going through FaithWalking. He is still involved, of course, but one was a medical situation. You know, he had a medical condition. His gallbladder had to be extracted, and it took a year. It was an ordeal. You know, all the medical situations, and he will tell you that you know, all the tools that he received for FaithWalking were super helpful for him manage himself through the anxiety of medical situations. Always there is an element of financial unrest and family unrest, and he was able to be who he wanted to be through this, and he's grateful for that. He has mentioned that. Then the second situation that he had to deal, and this is probably the one that touches my heart the most, is that he's a father of four, and his oldest son is an adult in his 20s, and he was dealing with a deep problem, a deep wounding of his son. And only parents can understand the complexity of those situations, and sometimes the guilt, the complexity of those situations. And I'm not going to go into any detail, and it's not my story to tell, but what I can tell you is that FaithWalking helped him, and by the grace of God, after breakthrough, and I'm not talking about 1 week, it has been a long time, Byron's son is going through FaithWalking right now because he's seeking the wholeness that he has seen in his father. And for every pastor, you cannot hide your brokenness from those who are around you. Byron actually, in the last week, he and his two boys went on a spiritual retreat together. Oh my gosh, isn't that amazing? It was not a church thing. It was a father taking his two sons on a spiritual retreat because they were seeking to connect with each other and with God. And you should see Byron's face when he talks about this. FaithWalking was a tool around it. Byron partnered with other organizations recently in this year in Guatemala, and they launched a Bible Institute in a countryside in Guatemala. It's a small Bible Institute. The focus is to facilitate church planting. They are trying to train church planters who will work in that area, Guatemala. And because of Byron, FaithWalking now is part of the curriculum. Talk about, an amazing story.